Hey everybody, welcome to the review from Is Mag Escape on YouTube. It is 11:41 p.m., May 1st, 2022. I just finished watching The Northman, and tonight was the first time I was actually able to sit down and watch a film. Given how life just overall is still more or less a touch and go thing with me, I do appreciate the support, and I apologize for the delays in reviews as of late. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the details of this review. As per usual, it will be spoiler free. The Northman is an epic ancient tale of Amleth, who has witnessed the murder of his father by the hands of his brother. Now, this isn't so much of a spoiler as you pretty much, if anyone who has watched the trailer, you could ultimately piece together what the story is about. It is a very straightforward story, not necessarily deep, very much different from the usual standard fare when it comes to your ancient Viking tales. Now, I've always been a fan of Norse mythology and Viking stories, and I can remember the first Viking story that I can remember reading, aside from, say, Conan the Barbarian or the Death Dealer novels. The very first pagan-inspired Viking conceptualized story that I remember reading was Beowulf. That was assigned to me by my English teacher, Mrs. Hunter, when I attended Crestwood High School. And I loved the poem so much that I read it twice the same night. And The Northman is directed by Robert Eggers. Now, I have not watched The Witch. I haven't watched The Lighthouse. So while I have heard of him, I haven't watched his work prior to this specific film. So when I heard that he was directing this particular epic, I wasn't sure where I stood on it until I saw the trailer. And when I watched the trailer, I thought it was just very unique in how he created such a beautiful visualistic world that I knew I had to watch it, since I've always been a fan of those type of stories. It stars Alexander Skarsgard, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Bjork, Anna Taylor-Joy, Willem Dafoe, and it is one of those type of films where I can remember when I was working one night and I overheard a few customers walking out of the theater saying how much they didn't enjoy the film. And I think one of the main reasons why that it's not enjoyable for some people is for a myriad of reasons, and one reason in particular has to do with the fact that it's very much a historically, for what we know, based off the literature that we've read and historical material that has been taught to us, whether it's in elementary, middle, high school, or even college. It is a historically, symbolically accurate depiction of the Viking warriors of that specific time period, where it's very much a warrior-esque execution when it comes to the character development and how these individuals were bred for war, bred for battle, and what makes it such a unique film and story with the characters is that when you really think about it, stories of the past in general always have a form of you being able to relate to them in some fashion, whereas with this film you really can't relate to any of the characters because there are no good guys or bad guys in this, no heroes, no villains. It is simply a tale where everyone is out for themselves. It is every man, every woman for himself, and that's what makes it such a special film. And I think a lot of people didn't necessarily grasp that concept, in my opinion. It's also very much accurate when it comes to the dialect that we naturally assume that they were speaking to when it comes to their communication with one another. It's very much written and performed in an old English type mythology way of speaking that you understand what they're saying, obviously, but it's very traditional, grounded, and that is in your mind. If you can visualize yourself within that specific scope of that period, you can literally see yourself understanding why this is how they communicate with one another. This is how they behave. It's very animalistic when it comes to how they basically strive towards a specific goal, and as far as revenge is concerned. And also, it's not your standard Viking film, if that makes any sense. When most people watch a lot of your epic Viking films, or even your ancient films that is inspired by Greek mythology, they expect a lot of hacking and slashing, blood, gore, just epic battle sequences that stand the test of time. And it's not like that either. It's very much a cerebral approach when you have this main character and the character that Alexander Skarsgard is playing, Amleth, who, after witnessing the murder of his father at the hands of his uncle, he goes on a journey, and at the same time he is using this journey to use a method of destroying the enemy from the inside to the outside, if you will. And it's very much, as I mentioned, a cerebral approach to how this Viking warrior relies more on his improvising and intellect and cunning skills to become the Trojan horse. And I thought that the Northman was, quite simply put, a great epic tale involving Viking warriors and the overall Norse mythology. I thought also as well the visuals was just outstanding, very realistic, grounded, and I think that's also what we've been missing as far as film is concerned as well. A lot of directors now typically rely too much on the computer generated imagery and green screens, and it doesn't necessarily feel real. Whereas this film felt real, it felt raw, brutal, in your face, grounded, exactly what it needs to be. And so one of my favorite sequences and you saw this in the trailer, but so again, this is not a spoiler, but my favorite sequence of the film is when you see Alexander Skarsgard covered in blood, and he is walking down this village with his weapons in hand, and he just looks ripped, chiseled. He has this animalistic look posed in his eyes and his body posture that I looked at that sequence and thought, wow, this is exactly what I expect from a barbarian concept. This is exactly what I've always envisioned whenever I read a Conan the Barbarian comic book or novel or Death Dealer, or whenever I read Beowulf. It's exactly what I've always visualized in my head. And Robert Eggers really did just a beautiful, amazing job of bringing that whole ancient civilization to life. And I would love to see him tackle another epic of this magnitude, because what he did was just nothing short of amazing, in my opinion. The battle sequences was also very brutal and bloody and old school in how they were filmed as well. Because a lot of directors these days rely on a lot of fast edits, cuts, and you don't necessarily see what's going on. Whereas Robert Eggers pulls the camera back, and you're able to hear the clang and see the clang of the swords. The swords cut the skin and the decapitations. I mean, everything. Just when the battle sequences happen, it really just paints a very methodical, brutal, unremorseful, merciless sequence. Very similar to, in my eyes, with what Mel Gibson did with Braveheart. It just hit all the right notes, and the acting was just brilliant. Alexander Skarsgård did an amazing job. Anna Taylor-Joy was a surprise for me as well. And Willem Dafoe, while his role is very brief within the film, is also he embodies the whole creepy shaman performance that gives you this sense of, wow, he just fully captures that essence of this various different entities that you come in contact with when you watch this film. And this touches on the mystical nature of the Vikings. It touches on the Valkyries, Valhalla, Odin. Everything within this film is exactly what you need to be. It's not it's not your formulaic standard Viking film. I will say that, and I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily understand. But it's not a knock on them. It's just this film is not going to be for everybody. It is very violent. It's very long, brutal, and you have to sit there and be prepared for a cerebral approach into how you're watching this warrior rely more on his cunning, intellect, and just doing what he can in order to avenge his father, save his mother, and kill his uncle. That is about as straightforward as you're ever going to get when it comes to this story. And I cannot recommend it enough. And also a highlight for me was the score of the film as well. I thought, me being a metalhead, I love heavy metal, and just hearing the inspired pagan Celtic approach when it comes to the cinematic score really just gave me vibes of, say, Iron Maiden, King Diamond, Opeth, Blind Guardian, Ice Earth, just those specific bands that I managed to incorporate that specific sound within their music just brought back a lot of different memories for me as far as being a metalhead is concerned. But I have to give The Northman a 5 out of 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. I do recommend it. It's not for children. It is definitely not for children. Very violent. And that's really all I have to say about that. I sincerely hope that anyone who might not give this film a chance, I hope you do give it a chance, because it's definitely worth it, and I recommend it highly. And that is my review of the Northman. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comment section what you thought about it, and should you want to spread the words to your friend and family regarding my channel, I hope you do so. And the next review that I will do will be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That comes out this Friday, which I will be watching on opening night. Hope you guys remain safe, take care, and I will see you again. Adios.